What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, holy crap. Battlefield just put out one of the most banging trailers I think I've seen in a long time. And it's absolute shots fired over to the Call of Duty franchise in the best way possible. But guys, before we go ahead and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Post twice here. Once at 8 a.m. and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Pretty much everything first-person shooter, even third-person shooter related. And we've been kind of, switching things up, posting some skate. So, of course, if you guys want some variety, subscribe and hit that bell. And last but not least, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you guys are interested, gonna link that channel down in the description of this video. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize. I can't showcase the whole trailer to you guys with the audio included because I am worried I'll probably catch a copyright strike on the channel here. But of course, I'll leave a link to, obviously the trailer down in the description of this video. And I can still showcase to you guys the visuals of the trailer altogether. But this, like I said, this trailer is an absolute banger. And it really puts a massive smile on my face because it shows the direction that, once again, Battlefield is pushing for. And honestly, it kind of hints at 2042 as well, because 2042 kind of fell under, a similar symptom that Call of Duty has as well. There's a reason a lot of people said that, 2042 was the most Call of Duty-fied Battlefield game in the whole franchise. But basically, this trailer starts off by showing 4 very well-known celebrities. Something that Call of Duty does over and over and over again. Going into battle, into the battlefield, right? Even though they're not soldiers, they're just, celebs hopping on into battle, I guess. And the funniest part about this is that the whole community was freaking out. When everybody saw who was actually going to be introduced into this trailer, people were snapping, saying, "This is horrible. What is Battlefield doing? Battlefield is doomed. Battlefield will never recover." It was wild. And then the trailer finally comes out. Again, we see the celebrities, and they get blown up within the first 20 seconds. It was the best thing I've ever witnessed in my whole entire life. And I also have to go in and mention that leading up to the celebrities, you could tell that the tone of the trailer was goofier, it was more wild action trailer. Again, how Call of Duty's been shifting to current date. But again, the second they get exploded, through the smoke comes a bunch of real, actual, well, not real soldiers. I don't know, maybe they are, who has, any clue. But, they actually look like soldiers. Unknown, no name, just, random people. And exactly how it should be. Exactly what everybody's been preaching for, wanting out of all these franchises. We don't want to play as, comedians and rappers and all this crap. We want to be just soldiers, just, a random grunt thrown into the mix of an overall massive battle. And when they come into the scene, they say the most iconic quote that I could possibly ever think of. They said, "Who was that? Doesn't matter," as they go into battle. And that is the absolute freaking truth. It doesn't matter. All of these massive companies trying to bring in these, most well-known individuals to sell these insane-looking bundles and flashy skins. Who cares about that crap? We're here to play a war game, man. I understand it's an arcade shooter at the end of the day. But, these arcade shooters had identity to them. Do you remember the COD 4 trailers? Do you remember BO2 trailers? Do you remember Black Ops 1 trailers? World at War? All the OG GOATs? Yeah, I do. I lived through all those trailers. I lived through all those times. And they very rarely, try to bait off of anything like, what they showed in the beginning of this Battlefield trailer. Well, compared to what they do nowadays. They actually knew the identity of what Call of Duty was all about. There's only one trailer I can really think about, and I think it was Black Ops 2, where they had a bunch of real people, coming on in, celebs, popular YouTubers, so on and so forth, hopping up into the trailers, all that stuff. But the difference is that when you loaded into Black Ops 2, you weren't playing as these people. They're just trying to showcase, the love and passion people had for the overall Call of Duty franchise, how many people actually liked the brand Call of Duty. But, fast forward to current date, when they advertise this stuff and they showcase all these celebs in their trailers, they're not doing such to, show the love and passion from the community. No, they do such because they're going to sell those skins later into the game and you're not going to be running around as soldiers anymore. As I stated, yeah, they had a trailer like that in Black Ops 2. But when you load into the game, they're nowhere to be seen. Whoa, who would have ever imagined? And the best part about it is that back in those days, they were able to still keep the identity of an arcade shooter, right? It wasn't a milsim. It was none of that noise. They could give a strong looking appeal atmosphere with the trailers. And then again, the gameplay was still fun, fast paced, and arcadey. I think what Battlefield's doing here is phenomenal because seriously, Call of Duty has to be checked, and Battlefield is doing its job. And also on top of that, Battlefield needs to do this for themselves as well, not just against Call of Duty or to point fingers at Call of Duty. Although I find this fun because it's bringing me back to the OG days of the COD versus Battlefield days, and the rap battles and all that fun stuff people used to do. Not just that, Battlefield needs this. A lot of people are worried about the future of this franchise and if they're going to take the same route as 2042. 2042 has put a massive stain on the whole Battlefield franchise. People have been worried ever since. And I don't think anybody really trusts DICE when it comes to cosmetics. Well, I shouldn't say DICE. They don't trust EA when it comes to cosmetics. Because EA, at the end of the day, is a massive corporation, and they want money. And guess who makes money? Fortnite. Even COD, all the crap that COD gets. Guess who buys those skins still? It's hilarious because I see a bunch of people complaining about the atmosphere of Call of Duty, yet they'll still go ahead and buy a corny skin within the store. They still make bank. And EA is going to look at this and still want to chase that. So people, they're still a little skeptical about how the future of Battlefield 6 is going to turn out. Yeah, at launch it might be pretty grounded, but what's going to look like in the future? But with this trailer, I feel like they gave a very strong statement. They showcased all the flashy stuff, not just a bunch of well-known individuals, but also flashy gun skins as well. Didn't you see the one gun skin that was extraordinarily flashy? They showcased all of the stuff that we don't want at all, and then blew it up in front of our faces and then presented to us exactly what we've been craving. Shoot, even at the end of the trailer, we get to see what some of the Battle Pass content is looking like, and those skins are even grounded. Everything is looking absolutely phenomenal, and like I said, I know a lot of people want to, claim EA is going to screw everything over, and I wouldn't push it past them. But at the same time, I don't think they are stupid either. They understand who the Battlefield community is. They can try to incorporate these skins, but guess what? The Battlefield community is not like the COD community. You see what I'm saying here? Activision knows that the COD community will complain, but they're still going to buy it. They're still going to play it. They're still going to invest in the store and buy the bundles and buy the Black Cell bundles and do everything that they keep complaining about. That's why Activision keeps pumping it in. You want to know why EA is taking this direction? Because they got screwed, absolutely obliterated with Battlefield 2042. Nobody bothered with it. Everybody got refunds. Nobody played it. It died instantly. It wasn't even a blip on anybody's radar after a couple of weeks. Seriously, that's how quickly that game died. When the Battlefield community does not like something, they don't play nor buy it. It's just how the community is. And if EA were to go ahead and cram in a bunch of pink skins, I know a lot of people think that might be logical, but it's not. Because that is not the target audience of Battlefield. It never has been, and it never will be. And if they were to go ahead and do such a thing, they will lose more money than they would gain. And I think that's why they're trying to find a middle ground of flashy, but not over the top. And, there's some skins I don't really care for, but so far, nothing has been over the frickin' top. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think EA is going to take that extra step. But even the comments under this, video here were absolutely hilarious. I mean, I have one right here by Trey Wright saying, I love how we all know exactly what this was a middle finger to. Yeah, got that right, Trey. We all know the second we saw that intro, it was a done deal. Another one here by Blues Dank saying, Battlefield pre-firing Call of Duty's marketing campaign is wild. Another one by Steady Jumper. Give whoever's in the marketing department a raise. They've done their job. You got that right. Seriously. The marketing for this game has been phenomenal. And like I said, they understand the community. They're not tone deaf whatsoever. And that is something that, God, that's everywhere nowadays. Every massive corporation is completely tone deaf. And it doesn't matter what the marketing department wants to do. If Activision wants to push something, if EA wants to push something, they're going to push it. But this time around, they just, I guess they have full freedom, and they're tapping into exactly what Battlefield fans have been craving. Another one by Fundamental Basic, the biggest middle finger launch I've ever seen. I completely agree. And last but not least by Heisenberg Fam, saying at 25 seconds, which is when everybody got blown up. Who was that? Doesn't matter. One of the coldest Battlefield intros. And like I said in the very beginning of this video, that is nothing but facts. That literally is one of the coldest Battlefield lines ever. And it truly leaves a massive impact because as I stated, we don't care about all these bundles. We don't care about these flashy skins. We don't care about any of this noise, right? We don't want to see all these comedians and musicians and all these people running around on the battlefield. We just don't. It's as simple as that. So when they say, who was that? It doesn't matter. That hits home to a lot of FPS fans who have been looking for a game that finally will give us a more grounded looking experience while still having that arcade fun flow, which they advertised perfectly within this trailer. I mean, shoot, they even did the C4 Jeep and, threw it into a freaking building and blew it up. Like, they're trying to showcase that Battlefield is a fun, action-packed, wild game, while also still maintaining the atmosphere and vibe that it's known and loved for. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to showcase to you all this brand new trailer. I actually had a completely different video plan for you guys, but when I saw this, I had to go ahead and post it. I couldn't hold off on this one. It's just really cool to see that old school classic competition between Call of Duty and Battlefield sparking back up again. But it's also awesome to see, just Battlefield further cementing that atmosphere basically into the overall Battlefield universe. And I will say, it'll be very tone deaf if they didn't cement it further and they, actually pushed with the crazy cosmetics after a game like 2042. I think the audience made it very clear that everything about 2042, including the skins, was not for them. And I'm sure EA barely made any money off of that game whatsoever because of it. So, if they were to go ahead and keep pushing that direction, man, I mean, honestly, the whole Battlefield franchise would have probably tanked. So it's really awesome to see, and I hope that you guys enjoyed watching the trailer as well. But as always, if you guys enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post twice here, once at 8 a.m. and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Pretty much everything, that's FPS or even third-person shooter related. Shoot, I even go ahead and discuss Skate. So if you guys want to stay up to date, subscribe and hit that bell. And last but not least, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, if you guys are interested, got a link to that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.